Yeah, this might be a bit of a mess. We'll see how it goes. But it doesn't reflect in any way on Marsha's coaching, which is excellent. But I don't know that I've integrated all of her suggestions properly. Preparation's a good idea. Anyway, okay. So here it goes. That's the sound of my shovel hitting the ground and sending a shock through my palm, up my arm. And a moment later, me realizing that this isn't going to work. That even with the two of us digging together, we'll never make it deep enough in time. And I look up across some bushes and I see an elderly couple of bird watchers strolling toward us with their binoculars at the ready. And I start to get a little nervous. My heart starts to pump a little bit, not from the exertion, because we just started and just realized the ground's too rocky and that this was kind of a crazy idea. I look over at Andy, my friend, and as usual, his face is unreadable. He's just impassive. You can't. Andy was an interesting guy. He was very different from me. He was very driven. He was very focused, very impulsive, sometimes to a fault, and you could see it even in the way he carried himself. He would sit. He had this tendency to sort of sit completely still, like for minutes at a time. You had no idea what he's thinking, and then some decision would happen inside his skull, and you just see him suddenly get up, like turn his body towards the door, like stride out of the room with like pure determination. And that was just the way he moved and the way he acted. It's hard to explain. But I was always very different from that, preferring to specialize in doubt. And for example, one time I had to buy a toaster oven, and I have spreadsheets, and I like from that process, and it took about 3 weeks. Somebody posted on Facebook recently something about this particular brand of toaster oven, and I remember thinking, yes, you're correct. That is a very good toaster oven. I know that. So yeah, so you think I would have prepared better for this, but anyway, all right. I met Andy in 1995 or so, and that's when this takes place. Is shortly after, like within a year of that. And he at the time was living in. Sorry about that. At the time, he was living in somebody's backyard in the East End. He had spent the winter living in a tent in their backyard because he was studying eco-architecture, and this was some kind of research project on, like, minimal and like environmental needs or something like that. Anyway, so and I had just dropped out of U of T, and we met, and somehow he. Oh yeah, we were working for. This guy named Roger, an architect. Roger was a giant in my mind, like a literal, like physical giant. What I mean is, he was a very big guy. He had these huge hands, this gigantic head, and a very like sonorous, deep voice, a very calming sort of voice, very very gentle manner. And I liked Roger a lot. But yeah, it seemed to me appropriate that he was an architect because something about him seemed to lend itself to the idea of like him. I just imagined him like lifting like huge blocks of stone and laying them on other stones, like as though that's what architects do. But anyway, like a stone giant. Like that's how I thought of him. Anyway, so I had been out with Andy on the Leslie Spit. That's where we were trying to dig, and the reason we were doing that, which I can't fully account for really in the time allotted, is we were trying to dig a cave that we could live in. And for the winter, and it was his idea, and I just kind of I went along with it, and I was like, yeah, okay, yeah. And he, like I said, he was very determined. So we went out there, and it took about 2 strikes of the shovel to realize that no. And the reason is because the Leslie Spit is actually made of debris that's been excavated from Toronto construction sites over the years. So it's this projection out into Lake Ontario. It's about 4 or 5 kilometers long at this point. And grass and trees have grown up on it. It's become a lovely park now, full of birds. They love it. And but you can't. It's not good for digging, is what I'm saying. There's all kinds of, among other reasons. Yeah, we abandoned that plan. And I looked at Andy, and at the time, and like I said, I couldn't get a read, but it was we quickly decided that we would give this up, and it wasn't. But it was okay because Andy had a plan B. So, a few days later, gray day, fall day in Leslieville. Again, this is 20 years ago when it was a little bit more desolate than it is now. We were riding our bikes along Eastern Avenue to this site. I don't even know where we're going. But it's something that Andy's checked out. He wants to take another look. So we go into, there's nobody else around. It's and there's this little parking lot. And we ride our bikes into the parking lot. And what we see is on the other side, there's a big chain link fence with an opening. To the right of the opening, there's this big yellow school bus, which has been, it seems clear that somebody's living in the bus because there's curtains in the windows and stuff. And not only that, there's a sign in one of the windows. You know how some signs, have you noticed this, are kind of passive aggressive? They try to seem polite, but they're actually kind of passive aggressive, and they're kind of in the buses and streetcars. There'll be a sign, you go in, and it'll say "Please move back," right? And then you go back, and there's a second sign, and it's a little further back. Please, it's all italicized and bolded. The please, it's always annoyed me. But anyway, this sign was nothing like that. If there was anything this sign had going for it, it was that it was very direct. And what was on the sign was a drawing of a hand holding a gun, a pistol, pointed at the viewer. The reader, and then above that in block letters, it said, if you want to die, and then underneath, trespass here. So now, I walk around basically with an anxiety level that's, around a 3 or a 4 most of the time, I think. And this kind of jumped it up a bit. I started to get pretty nervous. I started to sweat a bit over that sign. It bothered me, right? I just look at Andy, who's my leader, right? And he's he doesn't seem bothered. He sees it. I said, "You see that?" He sees it, but he doesn't seem to care. He shrugs it off. He says, "Yeah, let's go." So I'm okay. So we're gonna pretend that, everything's fine. Maybe everything is fine. Maybe I don't know. Everything's fine, right? People put up signs. So we ride through that opening, and we take a left away from the bus, and there's the building that's our target, and it's this big old brick factory, abandoned factory, and maybe it looks like it's about 4 stories tall, and we have to ride down this laneway to get to the entrance, which is just this huge doorway that's big enough to drive a vehicle through. There's no doors on it or anything, so we just ride our bikes into this building. And I was a bit surprised at what was inside because there was nothing inside. Nothing. You expect a building to have things in it. And not only were there no fixtures or furnishings, there were not even any floors. It was just a big, empty. It was the building that's sort of in the movie Reservoir Dogs. It was just this big empty space. There's a concrete floor. It just went all the way up to the roof, and there was just nothing, except for with 2 exceptions. There was up near the top. There was this little office that's overlooked what I guess would have been the factory floor at one point, and a little staircase that went up to that. And then Opposite that, at the far end of the building, in a corner, parked askew in the corner, was a truck, not just an ordinary truck, but an armored truck. Like you find out parked outside of banks, when they're like picking up the money or dropping off the money, I guess. It was just parked there in the corner, like sort of awkwardly. The back door was open. I could see that it was empty. The other door had this little like reinforced window in it, but it had been shattered. It had like this spider web of cracks radiating out from this little central hole in the window. And I was like, that's odd. I didn't expect to see that. And what's that doing there inside the building? What is that? Why is that there? I turned to Andy. Why is that there? What is this? And he didn't seem to care. He said, let's go. He said, look, so that office up there, that's what I want to check out. I think that would be like an ideal spot. We could like set up there. Nobody would know we were here. And I said, no. Well, this is not. I have a really bad feeling about this place, and this is a bad place. The truck, again, no, I couldn't get he just was like, he seemed a little disappointed. He was like, seriously? I was like, yeah, I'm leaving, so you can come with me or not. And he said, oh, all right. So he turned around and he came with me and we left. So we had to ride back through that little laneway to that opening in the fence. That's our only way out of this little cul-de-sac or whatever we're in. And so we're riding towards that opening, kind of parallel to the fence, I guess. And as we do, and then the bus is just beyond that opening. And as we approach, through that opening crawls this long, brown, old car. It was I don't really know anything about cars, but this was a long, brown, old car, and it was very boxy. It was very rectangular. This was back in the 90s, but it was still a very old car for the 90s. So it was like, it looked like the car you'd see in the Coen Brothers movie, about very bad people doing terrible things in the 70s. That's what it looked like. It was in short, it was an evil car. Okay, so it pulls in, and it turns right. It turns away from us and parks right next to that bus. So now we're riding towards it, and there's the gate. And now I'm freaking out a little bit more. I'm probably at a 7 in terms of anxiety. Now this is not what I signed up for. I don't know, reconsidering everything. Who's this Andy person? But it's like, let's remain calm. Andy's being calm. I'll be calm. Sometimes that's what you got to use. Pretend everything's okay. You don't run, you don't bolt for the exit, right? They say, if you run into a bear, you don't run from the bear. So that's what we did. We just casually, leisurely, we ride through that gateway. And maybe we got away. Maybe we're okay. So we come out through the parking lot. We take a right. We take another right. Riding all the road. We're on our bikes. Everything's fine. Okay, cool. We get to this. We end up a couple blocks away. We're facing south, on looking across Lakeshore Boulevard, which is multiple lanes, very busy road. And stop at the red light's red, so we stop. And I'm thinking, oh, good for you. Well done. You successfully detected danger and and got out. It was a good call. It was a good call. But you know what? Let's keep moving. I say, Andy, I don't want to sit here. Let's keep going. Let's cross on the crosswalk. Let's just keep moving. So we did that. We sort of turned, and now we go across the crosswalk. Now we're up on the sidewalk. We're facing south again, on our bikes, on the sidewalk, looking to cross Lakeshore. And then, so the light is. We're waiting for the light to change. I look over to my right, where we just came from. And there's the brown car, and I see the driver for the first time, and he looks like he's pushing 50. He's got this black and gray hair that's all greased back. It's kind of longish, but sort of like my length now, and and he's got gray stubble all over his face, and he's got this this crazed, vicious look on his eye. He's looking straight at us, and his mouth is twisted into this sort of semi-smirk, semi-sneer, and he just for a second lifts up his hand above in view of the window, the car, and with a gun in it, and then drops it back down, and he kind of gives a little nod. And this is like, so now, I don't know. Now things are just got weird. Like it's unreal. I look at Annie, and I actually see this reaction, this recoil and shock and surprise and fear on his face that I haven't seen before. And I'm like, okay, now we're on the same page. But things have just got, like sort of, in a sense, there's this unreality, but also this weird familiarity. It's like, oh, this is the thing you've been scared of all this time. Your whole life is the scary thing is now happening. Somebody's, you're now being hunted by this crazy maniac. So it was weird. It was just like, what the fuck is going on? And the light turns green. So it's like, okay, we start riding across, and the brown car is moving parallel to us, just separated by like the oncoming traffic, and we get halfway across, and I'm like, what are we doing? Like, we're on bikes. We don't have to go this way. He has to go this way. We don't have to go this way. And we just, like, we flip around and we start riding the other way, right? It's like, haha, yeah, And I hear the sound. I look over my shoulder, and the car he does this insane U-turn, like very cinematic U-turn, I thought. Where other cars are like screeching to a halt, jamming on their horns and stuff, and he's like furiously like swinging around because apparently that's how bad he wants to shoot us. And so we're riding for our lives now. We're like, what the like? I've never had like what? Why is this happening? Oh well, there's strange. Yeah, that's what I thought. Oh well. But anyway, we ride. There's now on our right. There's this big parking lot. It's full of cars. Beyond that, there's a Burger King. We ride into the parking lot, thinking, okay, we have more. It's harder for him to maneuver here. Should we? And Andy says, like, maybe we should go to Burger King and there's people there. And I'm like, yeah, no, because I suddenly imagine this headline, like, 2 young men gunned down in Burger King, and it seems like too imaginable. An event, like a headline. So no, let's not go to Burger King. We'll go behind. We'll try to lose him. Let's try to lose him. So we weave through this parking lot, right? Thinking, okay, that'll slow him down. We get into this laneway that goes behind that complex that the Burger King's in. Through the laneway, checking behind us, we don't see him. It occurs to me as we're riding down here how like Andy's kind of like deferring to me a bit now, like which is unusual because like. That's because he's been the alpha male, up till now. And it's like, I think maybe like recent events have like justified, like have validated my judgment or something. So, anyway, we get through the laneway. We come out the other side. There's this other big parking lot full of cars, right? And we end up in the middle of the parking lot. We hop off our bikes. We crouch down between a couple of cars and we hide like these frightened rabbits, like with our hearts pounding. And we're looking around. We're scanning in every direction to see if the bad man is coming. And we're trying to figure out what's our next move. What's our next move? It's like, do we make a break for it? Do we hide? Do we stay here? And there's behind us on the other side of the complex. There's a Loblaws, a Blockbuster. Do we go in there? Sure enough, we see the brown car, and it's just leisurely driving along. It's gone past us. It's on the road. It's not in the parking lot. It's gone. He's still on the road. And he turns around and he gets to the end of the parking lot. We think he's going to keep going, but he just turns in. He's coming at us now. So we're like, okay, we have no more options. And I said, let's go to Loblaws. And I don't know why I said I think the reason I said Loblaws maybe was like Burger King. I don't know. Burger King is like an American chain, right? Like, and Loblaws, Loblaws just feels better. It feels safer. You never hear of anything horrific happening in a Loblaws, right? So we ride straight at the Loblaws, and I'm too scared at this point to even look back. Like, I'm 10ing out on the anxiety scale right now. And not anxiety, now it's terror. So we ride up to the Loblaws, and we don't even stop. We just slow down, and the automatic doors open up, and we ride through them. And then there's a second set of automatic doors, and they open up, and we ride through those. And we're riding now through a Loblaws, and past the checkout aisles 10, 9, 8, 7, right? And when suddenly, people are staring at us, and I have some kind of vague, there's this. I still, even at this moment, at the moment that this is happening, I'm thinking, oh, this is embarrassing. We're riding our bikes in a Loblaws, I wonder, but it's equivalent to the way, you ever see a video how fish will jump into a boat to get away from a shark? It's just that's what you got to do sometimes. That's what we were doing. So then we, I don't know if that's a great analogy actually. Anyway, okay. So then we were past the aisles. Everybody's looking at us, wondering what the hell we're doing. When suddenly we run straight into Roger, the stone giant. And it's what is he doing here? He's standing there, this huge man with these 2 bags of groceries, looking kind of mildly surprised to see us. And we're bicycles, and I'm like, this is weird. Is this a dream or something? What? Why would that happen? Why is Roger here? So there's Roger, and I'm like, Roger, there is a man. He has got a gun. He is coming to kill us because he lives in a bus beside a building that we went to and found an armored truck in because we wanted to live there. And he has no time to react because, as if to validate my outlandish claim, the maniac comes charging through the doors at us, and we've got off our bikes at this point, and we're the 3 of us now are standing there. This guy comes charging up. He's a little taller than me. He's wearing a black leather jacket. He's dressed in dark clothes. Everything's all worn and stuff. It's he doesn't change his clothes every month or something. He's looks like a guy who lives in a bus, and he comes right at us, right up to me, and I'm taking steps back, and he's getting right in my face and yelling, "What the fuck were you doing there?" He inquires, and I'm kind of relieved, but partly because there's nothing else we can do now. This is just wait and find out. He's gonna kill us, but that's asking a question is decent evidence that somebody's not about to kill you necessarily, right? Because it's not a method of execution, to ask somebody. Anyway, so he asks the question, what are you doing there? And I'm thinking quickly. His face is right in my face. This is his spit's hitting my face as he yells. I can smell his bus breath, and I think I should answer. I got to answer his question. But he's not going to believe he's not going to believe that. It just doesn't sound believable that we were trying to find a place to live. So I need something else, simpler, but benign and fast. And out of my mouth comes, "We're making a film." For somebody, right? I don't know. It just seemed. And he says, "What the fuck do you mean you're making a film?" And this is good because as we're conversing, we're now having a conversation, which is awesome. This is great. I don't care how mad he is at me. It's yes, thank you. Okay, let's talk, because we're now, every word is we're moving out of this, from this prehistoric predatory wilderness, through hundreds of centuries of civilization, into this point where now, we're just like Torontonians standing in a Loblaws talking about a film that we're not actually making. So that's so much better than what was happening a few moments ago. So it's oh yeah, I'm sorry, we were just looking for an interesting place to shoot a film, and we have no interest in you or anything. We don't ever want to go back there. And he got very quiet all of a sudden, and he still right up in my face, and he said, "If I ever see you there again, I'll kill you." And then he looks over at Andy silently to deliver, the same message. And then he kind of looks at Roger with some uncertainty, he's not sure if he's supposed to be threatening Roger or not, because Roger's a new element. And then he left. He turned and walked away, and we weren't dead, and we never did see him again, nor him us. Thank you. Thank you very much.